show knows I'm a Star Wars fan. Just like they know I'm a NASCAR Dale Jr. fan. But I think if you asked them, they go, what's John's favorite thing, right? And they would say, oh, Star Wars. And people post stuff on my page all the time. I mean, it's one of those things that just it cuts through in a way that few things have a chance to cut through. And it's because of that family element. I love listening to other Star Wars podcasts. And I get a kick out of hearing other people on other podcasts who I absolutely 100% know do not have anything else in common with me other than Star Wars. Like completely opposite spectrum of the spectrum when it comes to ideologies and political beliefs or religious beliefs or any of that. You can just hear it. People, some podcasts are more honest than others, but there are some podcasts you listen to and they go, man, there's no way that we could talk about anything but Star Wars. But if we got in a room together, we could talk about Star Wars for hours. That's cool. It has the ability to do that because you do feel like a family. It is still an unspoken language. When the original trilogy came out and people said, "May the Force be with you," it was code. You were part of the club, and to a certain extent, it still is. And with this new movie being as successful as it is, brand new generations now have their own movie to grab onto. They now have the connection to the original trilogy. And you wonder, apart from just making a great, delightful movie, as JJ Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan said, you wonder if they really realized what they were accomplishing. Because the genius of Episode 7 was that it did go and connect not just the original trilogy with this new trilogy, but it bridged the gap of parents and children. In my household, my son's only growing up on the prequels, and even Kyle probably being more familiar with Rebels or Clone Wars than he was with the prequel movies themselves. This movie solidifies, those stories. It's true, all of it. I mean, that was such a genius move in that trailer when they went in and they did that. So when you talk about race parents and people speculate on race parents, they do it because it's important, because parents are important, because we like this character. We want to know where she came from. We want to know more of the mythology, because who wouldn't want to know where they came from? Who doesn't want to know who their parents are? Who doesn't want to know where these gifts have come from, right? Watching A New Hope, I still remember as a kid thinking to myself, connecting with Luke Skywalker, going, man, it must be hard for him. He doesn't have his mom or his dad. And the focus was on his dad, right? Not so much his mom. I don't even know if she was even mentioned all that much, right? Until later in the movies. But in A New Hope, when he has the conversations with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan does the redirects on him, right? And talks about his father. He was the best star pilot in the galaxy, and a good friend. And, during that moment, Luke goes and says, I wish I'd known him. And he sets off on this journey. And in my mind, as a child watching this, I'm going, yeah, he's leaving because Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are, crispy chicken out on the front porch now. But he's also leaving because he knows he's got a chance to go find his dad now. And that was so important to him. And growing up and being close to my dad and having a falling out at one point when I was younger with my father, and then being able to rekindle that relationship. But my dad is very, very special to me, and I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for him. And so even at a young age like that, and subsequently having to go through divorce, during those years swirling around there, fathers and mothers and relationships and families dealing with that. I mean, Star Wars was a bit of catharsis, and going and seeing those movies and seeing Luke Skywalker work through those issues, those family issues, and then finding out that his dad is Darth Vader, for crying out loud. And oh my gosh, what does that do to him, right? What a burn. How much does that suck, And so after all these years, and after going through and getting the backstory of Luke Skywalker, and now we have Rey, this delightful new character on this journey, who is going on this journey much in the same way that Luke did, not knowing who her parents are, and finding Luke at the end of this movie and seeing him again for the first time as Luke Skywalker in decades. It's no surprise that we all want to know who Rey's parents are. See, and then I go and say that, and now I want Luke to be her dad, her dad again, right? It's going to be interesting. They've got such a fantastic foundation laid that I'm so excited to find out what they do with it and what those answers really are, because there's a lot of richness there. Who can leave their child behind? Why would they leave their child behind? Was she a part of the academy in the Force back scene? Did Kylo Ren prevent Rey from being hurt by the guy that he stabs in that scene? And does he really know who she is? Certainly in the book, it lends itself to thinking that Kylo Ren does know who she is. Was she's just strong in the Force and she made it out and they had to leave her on Jakku? I mean, it's going to be so much fun to see what they do with it. And then, of course, the flip side is, what's Luke been doing this whole time? What happened to him? What's going on in his mind? Is he crazy or not? And there's been some talk too that Rian Johnson, directing Episode 8, may do some things that haven't been done in a Star Wars movie before. So maybe we'll actually go back in time. Maybe we'll go back prior to the events of The Force Awakens, and we'll see in some flashback scenes what happened with Luke. And what happened with the Academy, and maybe we'll get some glimpses into the past. I'd be totally fine with that. But just to circle back again, parents matter. And Star Wars is a family experience. And it's a relatable experience. It's in a galaxy, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but so much of it was grounded in a reality of relationships. And again, that just goes back to the genius of what George Lucas created, and going back to the mythologies that have been there for hundreds of years, right? And the writings of Joseph Campbell, and taking these story arcs and these other sort of places in time, and applying them to this different universe that is so much fun to be a part of. And whether people want to admit it or not, parents are very, very important, and we care about Rey because she's a cool character. Look, nobody's asking who are Finn's parents, right? I mean, because we all kind of know it's not equally as important. We know that the First Order took him from his family, right? He says it in the movie. From a family I don't even know, but nobody's asking who his parents are. That's not a dig on Finn. It's just a matter of, no, we know the focus is going to be Rey. And so when they go out and they make these types of comments, you kind of scratch your head and go, what were you guys thinking? Did you not realize what it was going to do to the fandom? Now, let me go here real quick, because I noticed this watching The Force Awakens over the weekend. I know, again, right? This movie, it's just so easily rewatchable. It just really, really is. But watching the movie again and knowing all the similarities in the film to A New Hope, and actually the entire original trilogy, there was a moment in the movie that essentially serves as the equivalent, in my view, of the moment that Luke arrives at Obi-Wan's hut, if you will, in A New Hope, and he passes him the lightsaber and tells the story. The moment on the Millennium Falcon when BB-8 shows that piece of the puzzle, and they start asking Han questions, and I meant to grab the audio from it, so my apologies, I don't have it on here to play for you. But when he starts talking about what happened to Luke, Luke went to start a new Jedi Academy. A young boy betrayed him, destroyed it all. Those that knew Luke best believe that he went into hiding, went looking for the first Jedi temple. Okay. I don't have an answer to this, and maybe between now and next week's episode number 48 of the podcast, I'll work on this a little bit more. But if they were echoing A New Hope, that's the conversation where in subsequent movies you have a different point of view conversation. Meaning, Obi-Wan tells Luke about his a young Jedi named Darth Vader. He was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father. Okay. And then we find out later on, well, that wasn't true, was it? Okay. That was from a certain point of view. You told me Vader murdered my father. Well, what I said was true from a certain point of view. That conversation on the Millennium Falcon, when he talks about what happened with Luke and a son destroying the academy and Luke going into hiding, looking for the Jedi Temple, I don't know what the reverse of it is, but I wonder if that will be the equivalent in subsequent movies of Han Solo hiding something from Rey and Finn in that moment that he doesn't want them to know, and changing around some of the details based off of perspective. Just something to sit on the next time you watch the movie. And again, I haven't been able to really formulate and break that scene down enough to tell you what the alternative could have been or what the wordplay could have been. I don't know if you could have done that with the conversation that Obi-Wan had originally in A New Hope. Like, I don't know if you could have taken that and gone, well, what's the point of view there that would have been different? And able to sort of deduce that, oh, Vader was Anakin. Anakin went to the dark side, which is the equivalent of him betraying and murdering his father. He did destroy his father, but he's the same person. I would assume it would have something to do with the Jedi Academy, a young boy going and destroying it, and perhaps it wasn't Kylo or something like this. So, again, just something to go and think about as you the next time you go and watch The Force Awakens, right? So, with that, that's about all I got for this week. I'm just about out of time. These guys got to learn to keep their mouth shut. Look, the truth of the matter is, we're not going to know. Nobody is going to figure this out, okay, before we get the other movies. These are answers that we are going to find out in other films, and we're not going to get the answer in Rogue One. Certainly not going to get the answer in, we may get the answer in Episode 8. If not, we'll have to get it in Episode 9. So, until next week, I'm going to wrap up with my trailer mashup of the Rogue One teaser, and then we'll do some outro music. But thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you want to drop me an email, as always, talkshownerd@gmail.com. You can email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com. If you miss any of the podcasts, subscribe on iTunes, search for The John Justice Show and My Nerd World. You can find them there. Or if you go to mynerdworld.com, you can find all the podcasts there as well. And until next week in episode number 48, I hope you have a great week. Enjoy some Star Wars this week. We'll talk to you then, and may the Force be with you always.
My Nerd World.
On your own from the age of 15. Reckless, aggressive, and undisciplined.
This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
We have a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent. We need to know what it is and how to destroy it.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.